The first time I touched the ring, I saw the woman they'd already chosen to replace me. I dropped it like it burned. It rolled across the marble floor of the king's bedroom, catching the light from the fireplace, and I just stood there in my socks, holding my breath like a kid who'd broken something expensive, which, technically, I had, not the ring. Me. My name is Elias Hart. Everyone calls me Eli. 22, 5'8" on a generous day, Omega, and the unluckiest psychometric in the state of Connecticut. My power is simple and stupid. I touch a thing, I see its memories. A coffee mug shows me the morning it was bought. A jacket shows me every shoulder it ever sat on. Useful for finding lost car keys. Catastrophic for finding lost trust. Which is how, 2 minutes ago, I'd picked up a platinum ring from Beckett's nightstand, thinking it was the one he'd given me last Christmas, and instead saw a blonde Omega named Margot Whitfield being measured for it by a jeweler in Greenwich. Last Tuesday, while I was upstairs in this same house cooking the three of them dinner. "Cool," I whispered to the empty bedroom. "Cool, cool, cool." My hands were shaking. I told them to stop. They did not listen. Hands never listen to me. Neither do alphas, apparently. Let me back up. There are three of them. The Hale brothers. Triplet alpha kings of the Northeast Pack Coalition, which sounds like a wrestling league but is actually the oldest and richest pack lineage on the East Coast. Their estate sits on 12 acres of frozen Connecticut shoreline, the kind of place where the gates have cameras and the cameras have cameras. Old money, old blood, old expectations. Beckett is the eldest by 4 minutes, cold as the Long Island Sound in February. He runs the family's holdings with the warmth of a tax audit. When he kisses me, it's like being approved for a loan. Caspian is the middle, the fierce one, the one who growls when other alphas look at me too long, who once threw a glass across the dining room because I came home with a scratch on my wrist. He says he loves me by counting the breaths between my words. And Sterling. Sterling is the youngest, the softest, the one with the gray-green eyes who reads me poetry on Sunday mornings and burns the toast every single time. Sterling is the one I trust. Sterling is the one whose voice I hear inside my head when I'm scared. Sterling is the one who told me this morning that I should head over early and surprise the others. Beckett's been stressed, he'd murmured into my hair at the doorway of my apartment. Caspian's been a nightmare. You always know how to fix them, Eli. I'd kissed his cheek and grabbed my coat. I'd driven through 3 inches of fresh snow to get here. I'd let myself in with the key they gave me on my 21st birthday, which they had engraved with the word home. And now I was standing in their bedroom holding a ring that wasn't mine, watching it spin to a stop against the leg of the bed they shared. I bent down, picked it back up, forced my fingers around the cold metal until the vision came again, harder this time, because psychometry hits worse when you're emotional, and I was, let's say, emotional. The blonde Omega. Or Margot, smiling up at someone off screen. "Are you sure he won't mind?" she'd asked, holding her hand out for the jeweler. And the voice that answered, low and amused and unmistakably Beckett's, said, "He'll mind, but he'll get over it. He always does." I let go of the ring. I sat down on the edge of the bed. I laughed. Just once. A small, dry sound, like something cracking under ice. Because here's the thing the three of them never figured out about me. I'm not the soft Omega they think I am. I look soft. I cook, I bake, I cry at dog commercials. But I grew up in a foster system that ate Omegas for breakfast. And the only reason I'm still standing is because somewhere around age 14, I learned the trick of going very, very quiet right before I disappear. And I was about to disappear. I just didn't know it yet. What I did know was that downstairs the front door had opened. 3 pairs of boots on the foyer tile. 3 voices, low and tangled, the way they always sounded when they were together, like one person split into 3 frequencies. "Eli's car's outside," Caspian said. Not happy. Suspicious. "He came early," Sterling answered. Smooth. Innocent. Sterling. A pause. Then Beckett. "Did you tell him to?" Another pause. Longer. "No," Sterling said. My stomach dropped through the floor and kept going. I slid the ring back onto the nightstand exactly where I'd found it. Made sure it sat at the same angle. Made sure my fingerprints faded from the platinum. I'm an Omega with a memory power. I notice angles. I notice everything. I stood up, smoothed my sweater, and called down the stairs in the brightest voice I could find on short notice. "Hey, I'm up here. Sterling said, "You guys missed me." 3 sets of footsteps started up the stairs. I caught my reflection in the mirror above their dresser. Pale. Too pale. Eyes too big. Mouth doing that smile thing it does when it's lying for me. "Don't cry," I told the boy in the mirror. "Don't you dare cry. We're going to walk down those stairs, eat whatever dinner they offer, kiss whichever cheek they tilt toward us, and then we are going to go home and figure out what the hell is happening." The boy in the mirror nodded. He looked terrified. He also looked, for the first time in a long time, like he was paying attention. Behind me, Caspian's voice rose in the hallway. "Eli, baby, you okay up there?" I turned toward the door, smile fixed, me hands steady. "Never better," I called back. And the lie tasted like the ring had felt. Cold, expensive, not mine. The bedroom door opened before I'd finished swallowing it. Caspian filled the frame first because Caspian always fills frames first, like rooms owe him rent. Black coat dusted with snow, dark hair pushed back from his forehead by the wind, eyes the color of bourbon held up to a fire, currently fixed on me like he was checking my pulse from across the carpet. His scent hit before he did. That was the problem with alphas. You could lie to their faces, you couldn't lie to their noses, and Caspian's scent, smoke and black pepper, and something sharp underneath, slammed into me like a door I hadn't braced for. My knees did that thing where they remembered they were attached to a body. "You smell weird," he said. I smiled wider. "Hi to you too, sunshine." "Eli." "Caspian." He crossed the room in 3 steps. I watched him come the way you watch weather. He stopped exactly 1 inch closer than was polite, which for Caspian counted as restraint, and tilted his head down to smell my throat. I held still, held still, held still. Because here's the second thing they didn't know about me. When I'm scared, my scent goes flat. Almost nothing. Like a candle pinched between 2 fingers. I don't know how I do it. I've been doing it since I was 9. The foster system teaches you tricks. This was mine. Caspian inhaled, frowned, inhaled again. "You smell like nothing," he said. "I smell like your cologne, probably." I patted his chest, light, casual, the kind of touch I'd given him 1,000 times. "Can't you wear enough of it to fumigate a small country?" "Hilarious." His mouth didn't move. "I try." Beckett appeared in the doorway behind him, and the temperature in the room dropped by 10 degrees because that's just what Beckett does to rooms. He was in his work clothes. Charcoal suit, no tie, top button undone. The kind of expensive tire that looked like it had been rehearsed. His scent was different. Cedar and cold water. The kind of smell that makes you trust a man right before he forecloses on your house. His eyes did a sweep of the bedroom. Bed, nightstand. Me, the nightstand for a second longer than the rest. My stomach folded itself into a small, neat square. "You're early," Beckett said. "I'm always early." I gave him my best wounded face. "I'm an early person. I peaked in punctuality." Sterling slid in last. And God help me, Sterling. Sterling came in with snow still on his eyelashes, gray-green eyes warm, mouth already curving into the soft little smile he saved for me. His scent was the worst of the 3 because it was the gentlest. Vanilla and something woodsy, like the inside of an old book. The kind of scent that made me want to bury my face in his collar and fall asleep. He held out his arms. I walked into them on autopilot, because if I hadn't, the other 2 would have noticed. "You came," Sterling murmured into my hair. "You said they missed me." "I did say that." His arms tightened. Not much, just enough. And I let my forehead rest against his collarbone and counted my breaths, because if I didn't count them, I was going to start screaming. 1. He smelled like home. 2. He'd told me to come. 3. He'd told me to come knowing what I'd find. 4. He was rubbing slow circles into my lower back like a man who loved me. 5. He was a very good liar. "You're shaking," Sterling whispered. "I'm cold." "You drove in this." "For you," I said into his shirt. "I'd drive through worse." Behind me, Caspian made a soft sound. Not quite a growl, not quite a sigh. The sound an alpha makes when his omega says something sweet to a different alpha. Jealousy is a language all 3 of them speak. Sterling laughed under his breath, low and pleased, because he speaks it too. "Come downstairs, baby." Beckett's voice behind me. closer than I expected. You look pale. I'm fine. You're pale. I'm always pale, Beckett. I'm 140 pounds of moonlight. What do you want from me? That earned me half a smile from him, and the one he reserved for moments he wanted to remember he loved me. I watched it appear on his mouth like a stamp on a passport, and my chest did something complicated. Come eat, he said. In a sec. I peeled myself out of Sterling's arms with a smile so bright I could have used it to land planes. I just need the bathroom. 5 minutes. Start without me. We'll wait, Sterling said. You won't. I poked his chest. Caspian's blood sugar drops. He becomes a war crime. Accurate, Caspian muttered. I shooed them with both hands. Beckett let himself be shooed, slow and watchful. Caspian followed, scenting the air one more time on his way out, eyes on me the whole way. Sterling went last. He paused in the doorway, turned, looked at me with those soft, devastating eyes. I'm glad you came, he said. Me too, I lied. He closed the door behind him. I stood very still until I heard their 3 sets of footsteps reach the bottom of the stairs. Then I crossed to the nightstand, picked up the ring, slipped it into the pocket of my jeans. Because if I was going to disappear, I wasn't leaving without proof. I caught my reflection again on the way out. Same pale boy, same 2 big eyes, but the smile was gone now, and what sat underneath it was something I hadn't seen on my own face since I was 14 and learning how to vanish. A plan. Downstairs, Beckett called my name. I called back, voice bright, voice singing. Coming! I slid the bedroom door shut behind me. The ring sat heavy in my pocket like a small, hot heartbeat. Mine now. I made it 3 stairs down before my legs remembered they were supposed to be carrying me. The banister felt like the only solid thing in the house. I gripped it, smiled at nothing, and started reciting recipes in my head, because that's what I do when I'm about to fall apart in public. 2 cups flour, 1 stick butter, pinch of salt, pinch of dignity, whisk until you stop crying. The dining room glowed warm at the bottom of the stairs. Candles already lit. Of course, Sterling. Sterling believes in candles the way other people believe in God. Caspian was at the head of the table pouring wine like a man who needed something to do with his hands. Beckett was already seated, sleeves rolled back, watching the doorway. Watching me. Sterling was at the kitchen island plating something that smelled like rosemary and lemon, an apron tied around his waist, hair falling in his eyes. A magazine spread, a trap with linen napkins. There he is, Sterling said, looking up. Here I am, I said. I slid into my chair, the one between Sterling's and Caspian's, the one they'd picked for me the first night I'd come over to stay. Caspian set a glass of red in front of me without asking. Beckett pushed the bread basket in my direction without looking at it. I picked up a roll, held it for a second too long. Bread doesn't carry strong memories. Bread is dumb. Bread just remembers being warm. I let the warmth of every oven it had ever known soak through my fingers and ground myself in it. Yeasty, simple, alive. I tore it in half. You're quiet, Beckett said. I'm hungry. You're never quiet when you're hungry. You narrate. Fine. I shoved bread in my mouth. Once upon a time, there was a small Omega who was being interrogated about his eating habits by a man in a $5,000 suit. The end. Sterling laughed. Soft, real, that wrinkle at the corner of his eyes that used to undo me. It still kind of did. That was the awful part. My body hadn't gotten the memo yet. My body was still in love with all 3 of them. Caspian leaned in, close enough that his shoulder brushed mine, and lowered his voice. You sure you're okay, baby? Mm-hmm. Look at me when you say it. I looked at him. His eyes were so brown, hot and dark, and a little wild around the edges, the way they always got when he scented something off he couldn't name. My pulse kicked in my throat, and I prayed he'd read it as desire, and not as the small, panicked animal it actually was. I'm okay, I said. Soft, steady. I even let my mouth quirk. Stop hovering, Caspian. You're going to give me a complex. You already have a complex. Rude. Truthful. He smelled like smoke and pepper again, but underneath that other note. The one he only let slip when we were alone. Warm leather, sun on skin, the scent he'd pressed into the back of my neck the first time he'd ever called me his. My stomach tried to flip and I caught it midair and pinned it down. No, I told my body. Not him, not tonight, not ever again. My body did not believe me. Beckett was still watching. He hadn't touched his food. His hand rested on the stem of his glass, knuckles loose, and his eyes did that slow read of my face that I used to think meant he was memorizing me. I don't know what it meant now. Maybe inventory. Maybe a man checking how much weight a story would still carry. "Couldn't Eli," he said. "Beckett, did you go upstairs first?" The bread in my mouth turned to drywall. I chewed, swallowed, reached for the wine, took a sip the size of a polite thank you. "I went up to drop my coat," I said. "Why?" "You weren't wearing a coat." "I was wearing my coat. It was downstairs when we came in." "Then I dropped it downstairs." "Beckett, what are you, the coat police?" Sterling cut in smoothly. "Bex, leave him alone. He drove in the snow for us." He reached across the table and ran one knuckle down the back of my hand. Just once. Light. Possessive. "Didn't you, sweetheart?" His touch lit a small, traitorous fire under my skin. I pulled my hand back too fast. 3 alphas noticed. I covered with a laugh and a roll of my eyes. "Cold hands, Sterling. Yours are freezing." "You always forget gloves." "I always forget gloves," Sterling agreed, smiling. But his eyes had sharpened. Just a hair. The softness was still there. The warmth. The sweet, boyish curve of his mouth. But behind it, something measured me, counted me, filed something away. The ring in my pocket suddenly felt enormous. "More wine, baby?" Caspian asked. "I'm good." "You've barely had any." "I'm driving home tonight." The silence that followed had a shape. 3 shapes, actually. 3 alphas going still in 3 different ways. "You're not staying?" Beckett said. "Not tonight." "Eli." Caspian's voice dropped half an octave. "It's snowing. It's flurrying. There's a difference. It's snowing. I'll drive slow. You'll stay." "I won't." The word came out flatter than I meant. 3 sets of eyes lifted. I felt the air change. You know, in that subtle shift alphas put into rooms when they want an omega to remember whose house he's in. My scent, which had been doing such a good job of being nothing, threatened to spike. I clamped down on it. I smiled. I picked up my fork. "I have a thing in the morning," I said lightly. "An early thing. A thing I'd love to get into, but won't because none of you care about my freelance schedule." I speared a piece of chicken. "Eat your dinner, gentlemen." "Sterling, this is incredible. The rosemary's perfect. You burned the toast, though, didn't you?" "Just a little." "I knew." He laughed. 3 alphas relaxed by half a degree. 3 alphas did not look away from me. And under the table, hidden in the fold of my napkin, my hand was shaking so hard I could feel my heartbeat in my fingernails. I made it through the rest of dinner the way you make it through a turbulence on a plane. Eyes forward, knuckles white, smile pretending. I asked Sterling about his book club. I let Caspian feed me a piece of his chicken because saying no would have started a war. I laughed at one of Beckett's dry, expensive jokes about the stock market and felt my own laugh come out a beat too late. When I finally pushed my plate away, I pushed back from the table at the same time. Like the plate, and I had agreed to leave together. "I should head out," I said, bright, casual. "Before it gets worse." I picked up my plate. Beckett picked up my wrist. Not hard, not even loud, just 2 fingers wrapped around the inside of my forearm, the place where the pulse lives, where my scent gland sits hidden under the skin. His thumb settled directly on top of it, light, considering. "Eli," he said. "Beckett, sit." The room went quiet in that particular way. It goes quiet when an alpha gives an order, and an omega is deciding whether to obey it. I tilted my head, smiled, did not sit. "Are you giving me alpha voice in your kitchen, Beckett Hale? In front of God and everybody?" "I'm asking." "You're squeezing." His thumb didn't move. "Sit," he said again, softer. 5 minutes. Then if you still want to go, I'll drive you myself." Sterling was watching us with that gentle, attentive face he wore when he was about to step in as the peacekeeper. Caspian was watching Beckett's hand on my wrist with an expression I couldn't read, jaw tight, nostrils flaring, the air around him going tight too. I sat, slowly, and I let my wrist slip out from under Beckett's thumb on the way down, like I just happened to be sitting and the hand just happened to fall away. He let it. He wasn't trying to hold me. He was trying to read me. Bad news for him. I'd been unreadable since I was 9. 5 minutes, I said. Then I'm out. Set a timer. Sterling laughed under his breath. He set a timer. I'm a man of routine. You're a man of theater. I contain multitudes at Sterling. Caspian stood without a word, walked around the table, and dropped into the chair next to mine, the one Sterling had been sitting in. Sterling, somewhere behind me now, didn't argue. The shuffle felt rehearsed, the way they always rearranged themselves around me, like furniture finding the right angle. Caspian's hand went to the back of my neck, not gripping, resting. The flat of his palm, warm, heavy, settling over the spot where a mating bite would go if any of them had ever given me one. My breath caught, and I hated my breath for catching. You're tense, he murmured. I'm always tense, Caspian. This is just my face. Your shoulders are up to your ears. That's fashion. He kneaded once, slow, deliberate, the kind of touch that knew exactly what it was doing to me. My eyes wanted to close. My body wanted to lean. Every omega instinct I had, the ones I'd spent years learning to keep on a leash, lifted their heads at the sound of his voice and wagged. Traitors, I thought at all of them. Sit down. Talk to us, baby, Caspian said. I am talking. You're performing. Same thing. Eli. I turned my head just enough to look at him. Mistake. Big mistake. His face was right there. Under bourbon eyes and unfair eyelashes, and that mouth that had said mine into my skin 100 times. His thumb traced the line of my throat. Not down, just back and forth. A small, claiming motion. The kind of motion a man makes when he isn't sure if he's keeping you or losing you and needs to feel you under his hand to figure out which. I felt the ring in my pocket like it was glowing. You smell weird again, he said. Low, just for me. It's the wine. It's not the wine. Then it's existential dread, Caspian, take your pick. His mouth twitched, almost a smile. He leaned in the last inch and pressed his forehead against my temple, and his scent rolled over me again. Smoke and pepper, and that warm leather note that had ruined me twice, and was about to try for a third time. I felt his breath against my cheek. I felt mine catch. I felt Sterling watching from across the room. I felt Beckett watching from his chair. I felt myself very carefully not move. Stay, Caspian whispered. The word was nothing. 3 letters. He said it into my hair like a prayer. And God, my body wanted to say yes. My body remembered every night I'd fallen asleep under his arm. Every morning he'd woken me up with coffee balanced on my chest. Every time he'd called me his good boy and meant it. My body did not know about the ring. My body was loyal in the stupid animal way bodies are. My mind, though. My mind had seen Margot. I can't, I said. Soft, almost kind. Why not? I told you, early thing. Cancel it. No. A pause. Caspian's thumb stilled against my throat. No, he repeated. I turned my face the rest of the way and looked him straight in the eyes. Smiled. That's the small, gentle smile. The one I'd been practicing in the bathroom mirror before they walked in the door. No, I said, but thank you for asking, sweetheart. That's growth. His pupils dilated. Just a hair. The kind of look that, on another night, would have ended with my back against a wall and his teeth at my collarbone. Sterling cleared his throat softly behind us. Caspian, he said. Light, easy. Let him breathe. Caspian did not let go. For one long second, I felt all 3 of them holding the room, the way they used to hold me, like a thing they had agreed on. Then Caspian lifted his hand, slow. I stood up before he changed his mind. 5 minutes, I said. Set a timer. You already used your 5 minutes, Beckett said. Then I'm running late. I grabbed my coat off the back of my chair, walked toward the door. It did not look back. Behind me, 3 alphas stayed exactly where they were. That, more than anything, was when I knew. They were letting me leave. That, more than anything, was when I knew. I got my coat on without dropping my keys, which counted as a personal triumph. The foyer felt longer than usual, the kind of long where every step sounds like a confession. The chandelier above me threw small, fractured stars across the marble, and somewhere behind me, Sterling was murmuring something to Beckett I couldn't quite catch. I caught the word tomorrow. I caught the word Margot. I caught the word finalize. I did not stop walking. My fingers closed around the front door handle. Cold brass. It carried a flicker of memory the second I touched it, the way old things do for a psychometric. But I shoved the vision down before it could unfold. I didn't have time for the door's life story. I had time for exactly one thing, which was getting into my car before my knees caught up to my emotions. Eli, Sterling's voice, right behind me. He'd move silently. He always did. Sterling was the only one of the three who could come up on me without my omega senses flagging him. I used to think it was because my body trusted him. Now I wondered if my body was just stupid. Sterling! Wait! His hand landed on the door above mine, not trapping me, just stopping it from opening. I could feel the warmth of his arm next to my face, the soft scent of vanilla and old pages, the careful way he angled his body so I had to choose to turn or to stay facing the wood. I chose the wood. Look at me, he said. I'm tired. Sterling. Look at me, Eli. I turned. He was so close. Snow had melted into his lashes earlier and dried there, leaving them spiked, dark, almost wet. His mouth was soft. His mouth was always soft. That was the cruelty of him. The two brothers behind us yelled and grabbed and ordered. Sterling whispered. Sterling asked. Sterling waited. He cupped my jaw. Just one hand. Light. Like I was a thing he was afraid of breaking. My traitor heart did its usual stupid thing. Whatever's bothering you, he said, tell me. Nothing's bothering me. Eli. Sterling. Don't lie to me. I laughed, soft, a little wet. I couldn't help it. Now's a funny time to ask me to stop, sweetheart. His thumb moved across my cheekbone, slow, searching. His brow tightened, just a hair. That almost frown he gave me when he was trying to read something I wasn't saying. What does that mean? Nothing, I'm tired. I'm being weird. You're not weird. I'm legendarily weird, Sterling. You've met me. Eli. He leaned in. His forehead touched mine. And here's the thing about Sterling. Here's the thing I never told the other two. The reason I trusted him. The reason I let him fold me into his arms first when I was scared. When I was 16, I aged out of my last foster home with a duffel bag and $200. I got off a bus in Hartford with no plan and a lot of attitude and absolutely zero people. I sat on a bench outside a coffee shop and tried to figure out how to be alive. A boy my age sat down next to me, gray-green eyes, a book in his lap, snow on his shoulders. He didn't say anything for a long time. Then he handed me half of his sandwich and said, "You look like you were about to disappear. Don't yet, okay?" That was Sterling. I'd been 16. He'd been 17. Long before I knew who his family was. Long before I knew there were three of them. Long before any of this. He'd known me first. He'd loved me first. And he was the one who told me to drive over here tonight. The math was so ugly I wanted to throw up. Eli. His breath ghosted across my mouth. Vanilla. Warmth. Home. 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 The worst word in the English language. Please, whatever it is, just tell me. I closed my eyes. For one suspended second, I let myself imagine it. Telling him, pulling the ring out of my pocket and putting it in his palm. Watching his face do whatever it would do. Letting him explain it, the way he always explained things. Soft and reasonable, and with that gentle pull that made me want to believe him even when my gut was screaming. I imagined him explaining. I imagined believing him. I imagined waking up in 6 months as Margot's understudy, smiling at brunch, pretending platinum was my color. I opened my eyes. "Did you tell me to come over tonight?" I said. "Because you wanted me here?" His thumb stilled against my cheek. For one heartbeat. One. His face didn't change. The softness held. The gray-green eyes stayed warm. But that pause, that one stalled second of a thumb that always kept moving, told me everything I needed to know. "Of course I wanted you here," he said. Eli. "That's a yes or no, Sterling." "Yes," I smiled. I don't know what my face did, but his shifted. Just a flicker. Well, like he'd glimpsed something at the bottom of a glass and wasn't sure what it was. "Okay," I said. "Okay, great. I love you. Drive safe. Eat your vegetables." Eli. I lifted up on my toes. I kissed him. Just once. Soft. The kind of kiss you give a man you've kissed 1,000 times. The kind of kiss that doesn't mean goodbye unless you know it does. His mouth was warm. His breath caught. His free hand came up automatically to the small of my back. And for one dangerous second, I let it stay there. Let myself feel the shape of his fingers. Let myself memorize the press of his palm against my spine. Then I stepped back, smiled, opened the door. "Good night, Sterling." He stood there in the foyer with snow blowing past his face and said nothing. His hand was still raised, frozen in the air where my back had been. I closed the door behind me. The cold hit my lungs like a slap. I walked to my car like I had all the time in the world. I did not. The cold outside was the kind of cold that had teeth. Snow whipped sideways off the sound, salt on the wind, the hedges along the long driveway hissing in a low, steady chorus. My boots crunched on the gravel under the new powder. My breath came out in fast, white pieces. I kept walking, slow, casual. The walk of a boy who had nothing to hide and was definitely not currently storing stolen platinum in his front pocket. The car was parked under the porte cochere, my old gray Subaru, dented and proud, looking very much like an animal that did not belong in this driveway. I'd named her Ruth. Ruth had carried me through 3 states and 1 heartbreak and was about to carry me through a 4th. I unlocked her, got in, closed the door, and finally, let myself breathe. It came out wrong, a shaking inhale that sounded more like a laugh than a breath. I pressed both palms flat against the steering wheel and stared at the dashboard and counted out loud in a whisper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ruth's interior smelled like coffee and old book spines, and the rosemary I dropped on the floor of the passenger seat last week. Familiar. Mine. The first scent in 3 hours that didn't belong to any of them. I fished the ring out of my pocket. It sat in my palm. Cold, heavy, honest. I looked at it for a long second, and then I closed my hand around it and let the vision come on purpose this time. Because if I was about to upend my entire life, I needed to be sure. It came in a rush. The jeweler, Margot's hand, Beckett's voice off camera. He'll mind, but he'll get over it. He always does. Then deeper, older, further back, the ring's earlier life. Because objects remember everything. A different Hale, decades back, slipping it onto the finger of a different Omega. Then nothing. Then Margot again, last week. Then this morning, on Beckett's nightstand. Then Sterling. Sterling's hand. Sterling holding the ring. Sterling looking at it. I froze, the vision sharpened. Sterling in the bedroom. Sterling alone. Sterling holding the ring up to the lamp and turning it slowly, jaw tight, eyes wet, mouth doing a small, ugly thing I had never seen on his face before in my life. Then Sterling, very carefully, setting it back on the nightstand at exactly the angle I'd found it. The vision broke. I dropped the ring into the cup holder. "So what?" I whispered to no one. My phone buzzed. I jumped so hard my elbow hit the door. The screen lit up against the dark cabin. A text. Sterling. I stared at it. "I love you. Drive safe. Please." A second one came in before I could blink. "I'm sorry," that was all. 3 words. No emoji. No follow-up. Just "I'm sorry," sitting at the bottom of my screen like a small grenade. I could not breathe. A knock on my window made me jump again. I turned my head, slow, dread sliding down my spine like ice water. Caspian. He was standing in the snow with no coat on. No coat. Just his black sweater and his work pants and his hair full of flakes. And he wasn't shivering, because alphas don't, but his ears were going pink. He bent down so his face was level with mine through the glass. His breath fogged the window between us. And I rolled it down 2 inches. "Caspian, you're going to die out here. Open the door. Get inside, you lunatic. You're literally steaming. Eli, open the door." I unlocked it. He climbed in. Ruth's passenger seat groaned under him because Ruth was built for normal humans and Caspian was built for breaking down doors. He brought the cold in with him, and the smoke, and the pepper, and that warm leather note that lived under all of it. He shut the door and the cabin filled with him, and I gripped the steering wheel because if I didn't, I was going to do something embarrassing like lean. He didn't speak. He just looked at me. Bourbon eyes, snow melting on his lashes. his chest moving fast like he'd run. "Cass," I said, and my voice did the betrayal thing where it cracked. "You're crying." "I'm not." "You are." I touched my cheek. My fingers came back wet. I had not noticed. "Oh," I said. "Huh." He reached across the console. Slow. Careful. Like he was approaching a thing that might bolt. His thumb brushed under my eye, caught the wet, and then his whole hand cupped the side of my face. He turned me toward him. I let him. I shouldn't have. I let him. "Tell me," he said. "Tell you what. Whatever it is, whatever you saw, whatever Sterling said, whatever Beckett did, tell me." My breath stopped. "Caspian. I know something's wrong, baby. I've known all night. I've known since you walked down the stairs. You smell like you're saying goodbye to me." His voice went hoarse on the last word. "Don't say goodbye to me." The cabin was so warm. He was so warm. His thumb moved across my cheek, slow, with the same motion Sterling had used 5 minutes ago, and the symmetry of it made me want to scream. He leaned his forehead against mine. "Whatever they did," he whispered, "I'll fix it. I'll fix it. Just stay." For one suspended second, I almost did. I almost reached for him. I almost climbed across the console into his lap. I almost pressed my face into his throat and let his scent rewrite everything I'd seen tonight. His mouth brushed mine. Just barely. The lightest press. Not a kiss. The ghost of one. The kind of kiss a man gives when he doesn't know if he's allowed. I felt my own mouth open. Felt the pull, the heat, the want. Felt my omega instinct surge up like a tide. And for one shaky heartbeat, my sense slipped. Just a sliver. Just enough for him to catch it. He inhaled. Sharp. His pupils blew wide. "And there you are," he breathed. And that was what saved me. Because for 3 months I had smelled like nothing to him, and he had not asked why. Not once. I leaned back, slow, steady, smiled. "Good night, Caspian." His face crumbled. I reached across him, opened the passenger door. He got out without a word. I drove away with my mouth still warm. The driveway felt longer going out than it had coming in. The trees on either side leaned over the gravel the way they always did, branches heavy with snow, and my headlights caught flecks of it spinning sideways across the windshield. I kept my eyes on the road. I did not look in the rearview mirror. I did not let myself look. If I looked, I would see Caspian standing in the snow without a coat, and if I saw that, I would turn around. Ruth's heater clanked to life. The cabin warmed by 1/2 a degree. I made it to the gate. The big iron gate with the hail crest worked into the bars, the one that swung open on a sensor when the property recognized your car. The car they'd bought me a transponder for, the one that should have parted for me like the Red Sea. It did not move. I rolled to a stop in front of it, idled, stared. I tapped the dashboard transponder. Nothing. I tapped it again. Nothing. "Are you kidding me?" I whispered. A small red light on the gate's call box blinked at me. The kind of blink that meant override. The kind of blink that meant somebody somewhere inside the house had reached over and frozen me out of my own escape route. My stomach dropped through Ruth's floorboards and kept going. I picked up my phone. Sterling's 2 texts still sat at the top. I scrolled past them, her fingers shaking, and pulled up Beckett. Hit the call button before I could think about it. He answered on the first ring. "Eli, open the gate, Beckett." A pause, and "Come back inside." "Open the gate." "Eli, Beckett Hale, I swear on every god this country pretends to have, if you do not open this gate, I am going to put Ruth in reverse. Drive back to your house and back her through your front door." Silence, then soft. So soft, almost regretful. "Come back inside, baby. Just for a minute. Let's talk." "There is nothing to talk about." "There is. You ordered a ring for another Omega, Beckett." The silence on the other end of the line went different. It went bigger. The kind of silence that sucks the air out of a room. I felt it through the speaker. I felt his face change. I felt all 3 of them, nay, somewhere behind that silence, going very, very still. "How?" he said. Just that. One word. Quiet. I laughed. It came out strange. High. Someone else's laugh. "You absolute idiot. You absolute, gorgeous, expensive idiot. You forgot what I am." His breath caught. I heard it. The half-second hitch of an alpha realizing he had brought a psychometric omega into a bedroom containing physical evidence and then left him alone in it for 90 seconds. Eli, open the gate. Listen to me. Open the gate, Beckett. It's not what you think. I almost laughed again. The linemen say when it is exactly precisely what you think. The linemen say when the truth is so ugly, they want to dress it in something borrowed. Then what is it? I said. Quickly, I'm timing you. He breathed in, slow, like a man preparing to deliver a speech he had practiced and never wanted to use. Margot Whitfield is the daughter of the Whitfield Pack Alpha. Old alliance, older debt. Her family holds 2 of our shipping contracts and 1 of our land easements. If we don't formalize a tie with her line by the end of the quarter, we lose all 3. The board has been pressuring us for a year. We were going to talk to you about it, Eli. We were. Tonight. Talk to me. Yes. About what exactly? A beat. About a temporary mating contract with Margot. On paper only. Public face. You would still be ours, privately, permanently. We just needed time to... He kept talking. I stopped listening. The world went quiet the way it goes quiet underwater. I could see his mouth moving on the other end of the line, in some abstract way, and I could feel my own hand holding the phone. But the cabin around me had gone very still and very small, and I could hear my heartbeat in my ears like a drum somebody else was playing. A temporary mating contract. On paper only. You would still be ours, privately. I had grown up in foster homes. I had been the kid nobody picked. I had been the kid passed between 3 houses in 1 calendar year. I had spent my entire life learning the difference between home and placement. And I knew in my bones the way you know the shape of your own teeth, that what Beckett was describing was placement. They were going to put me in the back. They were going to put a blonde Whitfield in the front. And they had decided this. Together. Before tonight. How long? I said. What? How long have the 3 of you been planning this? A pause. Eli. How long, Beckett? 6 weeks. I closed my eyes. 6 weeks. 6. Sterling had read me poetry on 6 Sunday mornings while knowing this. Caspian had whispered mine into the back of my neck while knowing this. Beckett had let me cook in his kitchen while knowing this. They had taken me to dinner and laughed at my jokes and held my hand at the movies and told me I was theirs while knowing this. Sterling, who had told me to come over tonight. Sterling, who I'd seen in that vision standing alone in the bedroom, holding the ring, his face doing that small, ugly thing. Oh. Sterling hadn't been holding it because he agreed. Sterling had been holding it because he was fighting them on it. Ian Sterling had been holding it because he was the one who didn't want to do it. Sterling had told me to come over tonight because he wanted me to find it. He wanted me to see. He wanted me to walk away before they could make me sign anything, because his brothers had already decided and he couldn't stop them. And the only person Sterling had ever been willing to choose over his own family was me. The realization dropped into my chest like a stone into still water. I'm sorry. That was what the text had meant. Sterling hadn't betrayed me. Sterling had warned me, and I had kissed him goodbye. The gate finally clicked. It started to swing open. Eli, Beckett said. Eli, come back inside, please. I hung up the phone, I put Ruth in drive, and I drove through the gate into the dark. The road outside the Hale estate was a black ribbon under blue snow, lined with the kind of stone walls New England builds when it wants you to remember who used to own everything. I hit the main coastal stretch and let my foot get heavier than it should have been. Ruth complained. The heater coughed. The wind came off the sound in flat, hard sheets and slapped the side of the car. I drove. I did not cry. I had a list in my head and crying was not on it. 1. Apartment. 20 minutes if the bridge was clear. 2. Backpack. The black one. The one I'd kept under the bed since I was 19, because once a foster kid, always a foster kid, and you never ever get rid of the bag. 3. Cash. The envelope behind the radiator cover in the bathroom. $840 give or take, depending on whether I dipped into it for groceries last month. I had not. I had been too in love to remember to be poor. 4. Phone, new SIM. There was a gas station 3 exits down that sold prepaid ones behind the counter. 5. A direction. I did not have number 5 yet. I would figure out number 5. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat. I did not look at it. It buzzed again and again, and then it started ringing, the long, patient ring of a man who knew how to wait. I glanced. Beckett. I tapped the screen face down without lifting my hand off the wheel. It rang again. Caspian this time. I tapped him face down too. The third call was Sterling. I let it ring. I let it ring all the way through and into voicemail and on to the next one, which was Sterling again, and the next, which was Sterling again. He knew. Of course he knew. The gate had taken too long to open. Beckett had told them. Beckett had walked out of his study and said something low and short, and the three of them had stood there in the foyer for maybe 4 seconds before Sterling had bolted for his phone. Sterling, who had warned me. Sterling, who I had kissed like a man saying goodbye. Sterling, who I owed something I could not afford. The fourth call buzzed against the seat. I picked the phone up at a red light. Looked. Sterling, I answered. I did not say hello. He did not either. I could hear him breathing, fast, rough. The breathing of a man who had run out of the house and was somewhere outside, in the snow, in the wind, in the dark. Eli, you should have told me. His breath hitched. I know. You should have called me, Sterling. You should have sat me down. Soren, you should have used your big boy words. Instead, you sent me into a bedroom like a Trojan horse and let me find it myself. I tried. I tried to tell them no. They wouldn't listen. Beck said it was business. Caspian said you'd understand. I said you wouldn't. I said you would die before you let yourself be a side piece in your own life. You were right. I know. You were also a coward. A long silence. I know, he said again. The light turned green. I drove. I couldn't fight them, Eli. Not on this. They've been the heads of the family since we were kids, and I've been the third for so long I forgot I had a vote. I thought if you saw it, if you knew, you'd leave them. I thought I could lose you and still, somehow, save you. Sterling. I know how it sounds. It sounds like you wrote me out of my own story so you could feel less guilty about staying in it. The line went very quiet. Yeah, he said eventually. Hoarse. Yeah, Eli, it does. I swallowed something thick in my throat. The streetlights smeared in my eyes. I did not let them spill. I had a list. Crying was not on it. Come back, he whispered. Please. Come back and I'll fight them. Out loud this time. In front of you. I swear to God, Eli, I'll burn the house down if you ask me to. I'm not asking you to burn anything. Then what? I'm asking you to let me go. A small, broken sound on his end. Almost a laugh. Almost not. Don't make me do that. Sterling, don't. I'm doing it, right now. I'm asking. The Tappan Zee was empty when Ruth and I crossed it, our black water under a black sky. The lights along the cables looked like a string of small, lonely stars, and I held the wheel with one hand and the phone with the other, and I listened to Sterling not breathe. Where are you going? He said finally. Don't know yet. Eli. I'll figure it out. Eli, please. I had to say the next thing. I knew I had to say it. I had been sitting on it since the gate had clicked open, and Beckett had said please. Since Caspian had said, don't say goodbye to me. Since Sterling had pressed his forehead to mine in a foyer that smelled like vanilla and snow. Sterling, listen to me. I'm listening. There's something I haven't told you. I haven't told any of you. I was going to tell you tonight. That's part of why I came over. I felt the words coming. I felt them line up in my chest and walk forward, one at a time, careful, slow, the way you walk on ice. I'm pregnant. The line went so still I thought he had hung up. Then a sound, small, not a word, the sound a man makes when something inside him has gone through a wall. Eli, 6 weeks, the same 6 weeks you and your brothers have been planning to bury me in a paperwork, mating with a stranger. Funny timing, right? Eli, I don't know which of you. I don't care. I know that a Whitfield contract written for a public face means a Whitfield bloodline written for a public heir. I know what they'll do to my baby if I bring him into that house. I know because I was a kid like that once. I was the one in the back. I'm not doing that to him. Eli, please, please, we can fix this. Beckett didn't know. Caspian didn't know. Sterling, Eli, don't tell them. A breath. Okay, promise me. I promise. Goodbye, Sterling. I hung up. I drove. I did not look back. Number 5 had just become very, very simple. Disappear. That had been 6 months ago. I lifted my head off the back of the porch rocker and breathed in pine. Maine smelled like a different country. Salt at the edges, wood smoke through the middle, sap on every other tree. I had landed in a town small enough to spell, in a rented blue cottage with a leaning fence, and I had a job at a bakery where nobody asked me where I came from. I had a belly out to here. I had names picked. I had a crib half built in the second bedroom. I had peace. I also had a black SUV at the end of my driveway. I had heard it pull up 2 minutes ago. I had not gotten out of the chair. I had a mug of decaf cinnamon, something balanced on the swell of my stomach, and I was watching the gravel for boots. 3 pairs came up the path. I almost laughed. Beckett first, because Beckett was always first. Long charcoal coat, hair grayer at the temples than I remembered, and it had been 6 months. 6. Caspian behind him, jaw rough with a beard he had never let himself grow when I was around. Sterling Lass. Sterling looked like he had not slept since November. Gray-green eyes hollowed out. The softness in his mouth had gone somewhere I could not follow. They stopped at the bottom of the porch steps. Nobody breathed. Eli, Beckett said. Beckett. My voice came out the way I wanted it to. Steady. Mine. Oh, I had practiced that voice for 6 months in front of a mirror with a small life kicking under my ribs. His eyes dropped to my stomach. His face did something I will not describe. Not because I cannot, because it was not for the camera. You're, he said. I am. Caspian made a small sound. He stepped forward, stopped, looked at me like he was asking permission to come closer. I did not give it. He stayed where he was. His hands shook at his sides, and he made fists of them, and the fists shook too. Sterling did not move at all. How did you find me? I said. It took a while, Beckett said. Eli. Sit down on the steps if you want. Don't come up. They sat, all 3. 3 alpha kings on a sagging porch step in a small Maine town, in the snow, looking up at me like I was the sun and they had forgotten what light cost. I'm sorry, Beckett said. Caspian made that sound again. I'm sorry, Beckett said. I broke the contract with Whitfield. I broke it the night you left. I should have broken it 6 weeks before that. I should have broken it the day they brought it to us. I'm not asking you to come back. I am asking you to let me say it. Say it. I made you a placement when you were a person. I'm sorry. I'm so deeply sorry. I let that sit on the air for a second. I reached down beside the rocker and picked up the small thing I had kept on the porch railing all winter. The ring, the platinum. I had carried it across state lines in a sock. I had set it on the porch the day I moved in. I had not touched it since. I touched it now. Just my fingertips. The vision came soft this time. Not a slap. A long, quiet fade. I saw Beckett breaking the contract, the way he said. I saw Caspian smashing a glass against a wall and crying with his face turned away from his brothers. I saw Sterling, alone in that bedroom, on the night I left, sitting on the floor with his back against the bed, holding his phone like it was the last warm thing in the world. I saw the truth. It did not change anything. I set the ring back on the railing. It's empty now, I said, almost to myself. I think the lies were the only thing in it. Caspian's head came up. Eli. I'm not angry anymore. I looked at him, straight, steady. I just got finished. He flinched like I had hit him. Baby, he whispered. Don't. His mouth closed. Sterling lifted his eyes. They were wet. He was holding very still in the way Sterling holds still, like a man trying not to scare a deer. Emma, the baby, he said. Boy! He pressed a hand over his mouth, held it there. I waited for the 3 of you to choose me, I said. You didn't. I don't hate you for it. I just don't belong to you anymore. Beckett closed his eyes. Caspian made a sound like something had given way inside him. Sterling whispered, Please. Just that. Please. I rested my hand on the curve of my stomach. The small kick under my palm answered me. Here. Still here. Always here. I have something better to protect now, I said. Eli. Caspian. Horse. Eli, let us. Let us help. Let us be near. We won't ask for anything. We won't touch you. We won't ask. Just let us see him. Let us know him. I looked at him for a long, long second. I thought about my own childhood, the empty hallways, the placeholder beds, the way I had wanted more than anything, only more than air, for one adult to look at me and say, you, specifically you. You can write, I said. 3 heads came up. Letters, not phone calls, not visits, not yet. You write. I read, he grows. When he is old enough to ask his own questions, he will. And whatever he wants then, that's what he'll get. Not what you want. What he wants. Beckett swallowed hard. Yes. Yes, Caspian breathed. Sterling nodded, eyes spilling. Now go home, I said. Soft. Final. They stood. Slow. Like men who had been kneeling. Caspian was last to turn. He looked at me one more time, and I saw finally the boy under the alpha. The one who had whispered, "There you are," in my front seat and meant it for the wrong reason. I gave him a small smile. Not a goodbye. Not a hello. A door closing kindly. They walked down the path. The SUV pulled away. And I stayed on the porch. The pine moved. The baby kicked. The mug warmed my hands. I did not look at the road. I had spent my whole life looking at roads other people drove away on. This time, I chose myself. This time, I didn't look back. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed it, you'll definitely love the next one. It's even crazier and more intriguing than you can imagine. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned. The next story drops soon.